For today's tournament, I let Twitch chat decide the character I should use for the entirety of the run, and they chose Jigglypuff. Wait a second. Isn't Sephiroth on the thumbnail and the title? Yes, that is true. My Jigglypuff sucked so much during the warm-up session in Elite Smash that I overruled their vote and chose Sephiroth anyway.
Overruled, or is it overcooled?
Today's tournament is gonna be midweek mashing, and in this tournament I already started in Winners Round 2. My first opponent in this tourney was Nelly. Some people might remember her from the Youngling tournament run, and if not, then I highly recommend giving that video a shot as well. Now, let's start with the tournament. Winners Round 2 started on Pokemon Starter Stadium 2, and honestly, this is a weird one for me as Sephiroth. I have the range to contest Link, I have the movement to avoid the projectiles, but in the first game, I had a tough time putting my range and movement to use as I was trying to figure out this matchup. Meanwhile, Nelly managed to keep me out of her comfort zone with Link's projectiles with a combination of boomerang throws and kicking the remote bomb with Nair for double projectile trouble. The entire game was relatively even with Nelly having a slight edge over me, and at the end, she managed to get my last stock with an up tilt and won game 1. Not a great start for the tournament. Let's lock in. I have to play this differently. Game 2 I switched it up and went to Hollow Bastion. I knew that I wasn't careful enough and didn't respect Link's projectiles, which led to my defeat in game 1. So I had to step my game up, and even if it might take some time here and there, I have to avoid the projectiles at all costs. And while it started out as an even game, I found the perfect opportunity to extend my lead even further. There are a lot of recoveries in this game which have hitboxes, and Link's up B is one of them. So all I had to do was counter Nelly's recovery attempt, and this stock was mine. With such a huge lead, it was difficult for Nelly to turn it around, and even though she was able to take my first stock, it was definitely not enough, and I finished game 2 in style. Let's move on to game 3. Nelly decided to go to Pokemon Stadium 2, and I just started where I left off last game and got into a lead. I found a few cracks here and there between Nelly's moves with my huge range and interrupted her attempts to get even more percent. But even though I had a lead, I wasn't able to take Nelly's first stock. She did it to herself while trying to avoid my neutral B. But as a competitor, I always say, we take those. What I didn't mention so far is that Sephiroth is an exceptional juggler due to his long range, and on the second stock of Nelly, I went all out on demonstrating his juggling potential. While his moves are not the fastest, they make up for it in range and raw power. A 2-stock lead is hard to overcome, but despite all of that, Nelly managed to take my first stock, and she was slowly but surely getting back into the game, and even got a neat little jab block combo against me with the bomb. But even with all of that, this deficit was too huge, and at the end, I managed to finish off game 3 with one last up air. GG's to Nelly, it was a fun set. My next opponent is waiting for me in Winner's Quarter. Weavile, a hero main. Let's do this. Game 1 we went to Small Battlefield, which is a stage I like very much as Sephiroth. I can cover the side platforms pretty well with up air and up smash. I can kill off the top earlier as well, and overall I rather have a pair of platforms to avoid heroes' spells than being on a flat stage like Final Destination. The reason for this is the following. Hero has a lot of spells like Sizz, Sizzle, Kafrizzle and so on that travel in a straight line. By avoiding eye level with Hero, I can read the menu without worrying too much about his long range spells. Except for Kaboom of course, which might drag me in, but usually you're always in time to shield it. Now I've already said a ton of stuff about the matchup, and you can already see that Weavile is on the last stock. And then something very funny, but also unfortunate for them happened. I don't think Zoom would save if you're directly below the stage because you just bonk against the stage. If I remember correctly, right? Weavile believed in the stage pick and went to Small Battlefield again. And they immediately did a way better job than the previous match and were able to zone me out properly with Hero. It was really tough to get in on Weavile, and they even took my first stock. I'm gonna keep it real with you, but I got messed up in this game and got hit by a ton of stuff like snoozes, freezes and so on. I was able to keep it relatively even here and there, but Weavile definitely had a slight edge over me this entire match, and the adaptation was on point. At the end, it could have been anybody's game, but I just got thrown out the stage like trash and Weavile won their first game. It was time for my counter pick. Game 3, I decided to go on Battlefield. I already talked about how I want to avoid eye level with Hero because of his spells, and what is better than 2 side platforms? That's right, another top platform to have even more way to avoid Hero spells. If anybody of you played a genocide run of Undertale and Fort Sans, I think you all know what I'm talking about, because it really feels kinda like that for me against Hero. I did what I could do best with Sephiroth, And that is juggling, juggling, and more juggling. After all, hero is often in his menu and I might get a couple of up airs and take the stock. The whole game was pretty even until the very end, and yes, I know, I had only 36% at the end, but look, one crit F smash would murder me, so I had to stay focused. And at the end, Weavile made one up B misinput and I took that opportunity to win the game and move on to winner's semi to fight against slightly high quality. GG's to Weavile, it was a fun set. The first game started on Hollow Bastion, and as you can see, we are playing a Sephiroth Ditto. Long-time viewers might know this, but I absolutely despise Dittos in Smash Ultimate. And it's not the Sephiroth Ditto specifically. I hate every single one of them. It would be the same with the Link Ditto and any other mirror match. In other Smash titles like Smash 4 or Melee, I had never had this issue, and the same goes for Rivals of Ether. But Smash Ultimate hits kinda different. Anyway, the game started out very rough for me as I was about to get 3 stock and I knew I had to get back into the game and overcome this. What I had to do is play more patient and look out for my opportunity to arrive, punish them, and slowly but surely I brought the game back. But at the end, it wasn't enough and slightly high quality took the game with one last up air. Now I'm not gonna switch, I'm going all Sephiroth. Game 2 I decided to go on Pokemon Stadium 2. Here's the thing about stage picks in a Ditto. It literally does not matter where your character is good at, it only matters where you are more comfortable at. This is the time when you might pick something like Lylat Cruz or Yoshi's Story because at the end of the day, both characters have the same advantages and disadvantages. Also, I don't know if it is very confusing for you, but sometimes I'm looking at the footage while writing the script and I generally don't know which Sephiroth I am. Sephiroth has so similar color schemes, it makes it sometimes hard to distinguish the players depending on the stage and its lighting. Now the second game was also not really in my favor and one last edgeguard was enough to finish off my stock. But I didn't want to go down without a fight. Let's move on. My stage pick was still Pokemon Stadium 2. For me it was never the stage, it was all about myself. I know that I was getting hit too easily, I know that I was too impatient, and I know that my recoveries were too easy to read and I lost early stocks because of that. If I wanted to win, I had to play cleaner and not lose my stocks this early every time. This game looked way more promising than the previous matches. My Sephiroth combos got better, my neutral was better as well, but still, as soon as I was off stage, I was basically doomed. I got caught in a ton of bad situations and it never looked in my favor. But despite all of that, I was able to get into a last stock, last hit scenario, and with one clutch spot dodge, I finally took a game against slightly high quality. In Game 4, Quality chose Pokemon Stadium 2's little brother, Small Battlefield, as a stage. We traded blows after blows and we kept it very even throughout the entire match. As soon as somebody took the stock, the other player immediately answered back and took a stock as well. Nobody was able to extend their lead further and so we both ended up on our last stocks again. The only question was, who would be able to take it? And then this happened. You all know my shield break punishes and how bad I am at them. But we're talking about Sephiroth. All I had to do was press B to win the game and move on to our last game in this winner's semi. Quality went back on Small Battlefield. It is kinda funny how I went 2 times to Pokemon Stadium 2 while Quality really wanted to play on Small Battlefield. We both apparently liked this layout, just with different platform heights, blast zones and so on. But this game was completely different compared to the other games. For the first time of the set, I was finally able to extend my lead and I was actually in a good lead for once. Not only did I take the first stock before Quality, but I was also able to take the second stock. And suddenly I was in a 2 stock advantage. But not for long though, as Quality quickly disposed of my first stock. Usually in such a situation you can play the waiting game as the one in the stock lead, but for some unknown reason I still took the initiative and got zoned out by Quality, and they also took my second stock with only 57% on themselves. My lead was pretty much gone at this point, and all I can say to the ending of this game is the following. My gameplay was not good, and I just want to end this match as quickly as possible instead of taking my time. And by doing so, I left myself open a lot until we got into a last stock last hit scenario again. This all led to me getting hit at the end by a Mega Flare and losing Game 5. I lost the Sephiroth Ditto and dropped down to Loser's Quarter where I had to fight Shotgun, a Pac-Man player. GG's to Quality, you have a good Sephiroth. Ah, that's a matchup I like. Good old Pac-Man. Game 1 started on Pokemon Stadium 2 against the Pac-Man player Shotgun. Now this shouldn't come to a surprise, but I honestly like this matchup. Fun fact by the way, I have never lost a Pac-Man set during a tournament, offline and online. At least as far as I can remember. Pac-Man is a character who wants to trap you in between the hydrant and dish out a ton of damage with the bonus fruit in combination with the hydrant. What I want to do is either hit Pac-Man while they use the hydrant mid-air, destroying the hydrant with fast moves, or simply wait out the hydrant. In general, I take the Pac-Man matchup always very slowly, and at the end I won game 1 with a 2-stock lead.
WTF kinda first game is that Pac-Man couldn't breathe.
I like the Pac-Man matchup. Why are people not believing me? It's one of my favorite matchups. In game 2, Shocken decided to go on Town and City. Pac-Man has the ability to kill very early on the stage, but so has Sephiroth with up special, F-tilt and back air. I'm playing stupid, hold up. I took the matchup a little bit too lightly this time and got hit by a ton of projectiles, and my damage intake quickly ramped up as Shocken sent me to the heavens with one apple. Every time I play against a projectile character and get hit by so many things, I am thinking to myself that I have to be more careful and don't get hit. You can't just throw out moves, because you might get hit during that by your opponent's projectiles. Even though I was in a huge deficit, I brought it all the way back with a couple of juggles on the first stock and then a few PP reducing counters on the second stock. The game was dead even now and Shocken hit me with a huge combo. Pac-Man combos can deal so much damage, it's insane. I was already at 91% and Shocken had a bell in hand. I knew it would be over if I get hit by an F-smash, and this is exactly what happened. But wait, the bell saved me and I was still in the game? This was my time to turn it all around and I got Shocken into an offstage scenario. I interrupted their side B and they had nothing left to do except for using up special. But as evil as Sephiroth can be, I stole Pac-Man's trampoline and not only robbed the up special, but also game 2. Game 3, Shocken stayed on Town and City and this game already looked way better for me in the beginning. Early on I got Shocken offstage and ramped up the damage quickly until I finally took care of their stock with an up special. But I didn't stop there, and even used Pac-Man's own spaceship to combo with it. If you see somebody use the projectiles of another character well in a matchup, you know they are comfortable in this matchup. That being said, I was in a whole stock lead, and Shocken came down from the angel platform, and then something disgusting happened. I ain't gonna lie, this shook me that Pac-Man was so easily able to convert an entire stock off of that. They killed! What the fuck? Maybe I should not have let Town and City open. Pac-Man is powerful on the stage. Shocken brought it back to an even game and I was about to lose as they extended the lead. But then they made one mistake with the up B, which brought me into a perfect position for a nair into back air, which almost took the stock. And all I had to do at the end was finishing it off with one more forward air offstage to win game 3 and the set. GG's to Shocken. The combo on the second stock was nasty. It was super fun. My next opponent was Big Mon, a Ganondorf main in Loser's Semi. Game 1 started on Hollow Bastion and I immediately had a huge combo going while keeping Big Mon consistently on the ledge. If there's one major thing Ganondorf struggles at, it's his disadvantage. If you have a character with a sword, you need to edgeguard him for easy stocks. Ganondorf, being the slow character he is, has also trouble getting in on Sephiroth in the neutral game. I can just zone him out with my aerials and forward tilt. It is a really tough matchup for Ganon, but I always thought to myself, even though this matchup is easy, there has to be a reason why Big Mon is in Loser's Semi. They beat players with Ganon and a good Ganon is always scary. And I was not wrong about that, because I got hit by the craziest reversal offstage I have ever seen. What? How did I not hit? How did he hit? Huh? I was 100% sure that my up B would hit Ganon and finish off the stock, but apparently I was off by a little bit. Big Mon made a great comeback, but at the end it wasn't enough for them to win the game, and one more air dodge read sealed Ganon's fate. Game 2, Big Mon decided to go on small battlefield and I started exactly where I left off. Keeping Ganon out of my comfort zone and keeping him in disadvantage until Ganon's stock is gone. I was in a pretty good lead until Big Mon got me offstage with one down B, and while recovering I made a mistake in his steed. Self-destructs always suck, but I was still in a comfortable lead, and after a short staring contest, I was able to react to Big Mon's get-up option and punish them for it. At the end, Big Mon found themselves on the ledge and I was using my neutral B. I hit Big Mon with the weak hit of the explosion, and I can only assume that they wanted to roll get-up to avoid the neutral B just right in time. But unfortunately, they buffered an air dodge instead and lost their stock for it, winning me game 2. Game 3 was again on small battlefield. Big Mom did a good job in the beginning and was quickly in a % lead. But I didn't have any of this and only needed one hit to get the Ganon player offstage and get rid of the stock. Overall, Big Mom kept it pretty even and I gotta commend the Ganondorf. It is not a good character at all, but for that, they played incredibly well. But at the end, it was not enough for Big Mom and one more up air in a juggle scenario was enough to take the stock and move on to Losers Final. GG's to Big Mom, you have a very good Ganon. In Losers Final, Mystic was waiting for me with their Pichu. Let's do this. We started the set on small battlefield and Pichu can be kinda troublesome for Sephiroth. The problem is that Sephiroth doesn't really have a ton of options to hit small characters on the ground. While other characters like Lucina have a very fast down tilt or hit a fair in an arc that goes all the way down to the ground, Sephiroth doesn't really have an area like that except for neutral air, which can be very risky in itself if used often. Another move to use would be down angled forward tilt specifically, which a lot of people use against tiny characters. What I like to do against these characters is mixing up my nair approaches with empty hop grabs and then up throwing them. Personally, my only issues is hitting them on the ground. If I can get them airborne, then everything is fine and that's where the throw comes into place. This strategy worked wonders and I found myself in the 2-stock lead and I was sure I was about to win the game. But not this way. An SD always sucks, but we take those. After 3-stocking the Pichu, Mystic switched to me Sword Fighter and the stage choice was Battlefield. I mean, after all it is a best of 5 and if Pichu doesn't work out, why not switch to another character? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then you can always switch back. And well, we were only 30 seconds into the game and all I gotta say is, it didn't work out. I got Mystic 2 times in an offstage scenario and both times they lost the stock early to that. Just for the record, I took 2 stocks while my opponent received only 110%. I basically managed to get 2 stocks for the damage of 1 stock. You can call it a discount basically. Mystic was finally able to take a stock off of me and while I like to hype things up, I just have to say how it is. The second game ended the same way the first game ended, with an SD on Mystic's part. You don't want to end it like this, that's the second SD. It was just not their set right now, but I think I know what the issue was. Or let's rather say, Mystic told us. Why are there so many subs?
I am gonna become part of the problem chat.
No! I'm not sure how familiar Mystic is with Sephiroth, but I have to say it time and time again. I hate Dittos. Mystic apparently hates Sephiroth because they fought Sephiroth time and time again. They said enough is enough. I've had it with these Sephiroths in this tournament. So Mystic switched as well, which already worked much better. I hate how this works better already. While Pichu didn't take a single stock and the Mii Sword Fighter took only 1 stock. In this game, Mystic was able to take both of my stocks and we found ourselves in a last stock, last hit scenario. I definitely did not want to lose this at all. I don't want to lose, man. But it was getting closer and closer. But one ill-advised Octaslash got Mystic into a bad spot on the ledge and I was finally able to close out game 3 and win the set. GG's to Mystic, it was a fun set.
Why did that do better than my main?
Because you picked my worst matchup, a Ditto. I'm not even joking when I say that, I just really suck fighting against my own character, I hate it. I can play the worst matchups in existence perfectly, but not the Ditto.
GG, I'm gonna smoke 40 cigarettes, thanks for being a part of this chat.
But it is not over with the Sephiroth Ditto, because now I get my run back against slightly high quality in Grand Finals. Let's do this. I had an insane idea to make the Ditto more fun for me, which might help me overcome this matchup. I turned on the One Winged Angel OST for the entirety of the set. Due to copyright reasons, I unfortunately cannot include the song for too long, but game 1 already went way better, let's say that. I thought I would just share this little strategy with you, even though you cannot hear it personally, because it's another aspect of Smash, which is pretty important. Mentality. Having 2 Sephiroths duke it out while One Winged Angel is in the background helped me a lot. A few people might say that I'm dumb for hating the Ditto and that I should just play better, but I believe that everybody has at least one matchup they don't enjoy and play worse just because of it. For some it might be Steve, Sonic, Samus, and for me it's a mirror match. I sometimes see comments of people asking me to mirror match top players on stream, and the reason I never did it was because I really do not want to play a Ditto. I just want to address this really quickly because I've seen it a lot and this is probably the best opportunity for it. As you can see in the footage, the music strategy definitely worked as I finished game 1 with a 3 stock and we moved on to game 2. Game 2, Quality decided to go on small battlefield and this match worked way better for them already as they got me off stage and stopped my recovery with a counter. So I answered back on the next stock and did the same to them. This game was very even until the very end and we found ourselves in a last stock last hit scenario. It was either me who takes game 2 or Quality evens it out and we go into game 3. And this time, Quality was able to finish my last stock. The set count was 1-1 now. Wait a second, I need a 1 hour version of that. For game 3, I decided to go on Hollow Bastion. At this point, I decided to go on stages I just wanted to go because I was in the mood for. As mentioned earlier in the winner's semifinal, the stage pick in a Ditto only really matters to your personal liking. You can take the worst stage for your character, but at the end of the day, the matchup is even no matter what. These games were really getting closer and again, we were in a last stock last hit scenario. We were both on equal footing and it was always a matter of time who finds the last hit to close out the game. And unfortunately, it was Quality who found the last hit and was 2-1 for them. In game 4, I went again on Hollow Bastion and this turned out to be a way better game for me as I took the first stock while only having 41% on the board. I was able to inflict a ton of percent onto Quality before they finally finished my stock with a well-timed down air near the ledge. But due to the high percent, it didn't take long to finish off the second stock and I was in a huge lead. On the last stock, I found an opening against Quality and knocked them offstage with a nair to forward air. This was a bad position for the Sephiroth player and at the end, they were also not able to recover. The game count was 2-2 now. Let's go into game 5.
This music is perfect.
You know, it at least makes it enjoyable for me. It was game 5 and Quality decided to go on small battlefield. This game was as even as it can get. Quality was able to take my stock before I took theirs, but I quickly answered back and Quality couldn't extend the lead further. This was probably the most even game throughout the entire tournament, because at no given point anybody had a lead. We just traded blows after blows, and after 10 matches of playing against each other, we knew how to fight the other player. Quality took my stock, I immediately took their stock. I finished off Quality stock, they were able to answer back right away. We both spawned on 3 stocks 0%, then 2 stocks 0%, and at the end with 1 stock and 0%. This was a nail-biter of a match and anybody's game at this point. If Quality wins, they are the winner of the tournament, and if I win, I force a bracket reset where we had to go through another best of 5. Quality was almost able to break my shield with a down smash, but I knew that it wouldn't break a full shield. But Quality had a trick up their sleeve they didn't use throughout the entire tournament. My shield was so low that an Octa Slash would either kill me at that position or break my shield. And well, it broke my shield, and with that, this insane set ended and Quality won 3-2 over me and became the winner of the tournament. GG's, it was a fun set. You earned that first place.
You should put a billion Sephiroths in the thumbnail.
Sephiroth won a tournament in Special Ultimate? To be honest, I think that's not even a bad title. I'm gonna write that down. Write it down, write it down. It was a tough tournament and I definitely have to step up my Sephiroth gameplay. But honestly, since I've been maining Young Link, I've been thinking about a secondary and suddenly I'm having so much fun with Sephiroth again. Maybe it's because of Young Link being my mobility and movement character, while Sephiroth has strong hits and a ton of range. The playstyles are completely different and I enjoyed it a ton. And I hope you enjoyed the tournament run as well. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be and I lost the Sephiroth Ditto. But at least, Sephiroth won and we had a hyped grand finals. I hope you enjoyed today's tournament run. If so, feel free to like, share, comment and subscribe. I see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye bye.